I never know when we're going live. Jeez.
That was fast. Normally, last week it
No,
took me
you
a
sound
half
like my
hour.
wife now. Jesus Christ. Come on, Nicholas. It's almost
Oh,
Christmas. Cut me some slack here, will you?
I am so sorry to your wife.
I've been saying that for 17 years.
17 years. Jeez, that's half my lifetime. My goodness.
Yeah, you're just a baby. You're just a wee little baby, Nicholas. We're a week away from Christmas Eve. You ready? You excited?
I am excited. Yes, we definitely got some programming stuff to go over with the people, but I think you got to introduce us to at least our new listeners.
Come on, Nicholas. Come on. You think I don't know what we're doing? It's called the cold open, a little witty banter.
Okay.
Jeez,
Sure.
what are you new here?
I've never.
Christ.
This is my first time podcasting.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I have
Maybe
no.
that's
I don't
why
have
all the
no
other
mind.
ones haven't stuck.
I don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, TLDR Studios proudly presents to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest, podcasting team in the world. He is the fantasy sports deadbeat, doesn't pay his dues, writer, comic book writer Nick Friar. I am your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. Together we are the jolliest podcasting team in the world, the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. You like that roast, Nick? You like that burn?
Got you good. I honestly, it was a little overdue. You've been, I feel like, really nice to me over the past few months. I know it's that time of year, but it was a little surprising. But I'll tell you what, who the nicest we've been to is to our listeners, because we had obviously we were a little selfish with our spooky season. We wanted to talk about a lot of books. We didn't do any Friarside chats after having a very busy summer and a full year jam-packed of Friarside chats. And they were like, you know what? December, let's try and squeeze in a couple. Actually got one in right before Thanksgiving. Obviously, we had Kyle Starks on the program. And then we recently, if you haven't listened to it already, spoke with Aaron Campbell, the artist and writer of one of the stories from JOHN CONSTANTINE, HELLBLAZER, Dead in America. You guys can listen to that right now if you haven't already. I had such a fun time talking to him. And again, Joe, like having talked to Cy previously and then talking to Aaron, just like getting the writer and then the artist as bookends was so much fun for this series. And on top of that, too, like it was such a different perspective because like Cy is so like, as much as he loves Constantine and has and cares about the character a ton, and I'm sure would like to write him again in some capacity, it's like he gets like a little more miserable about it. Whereas Aaron's like legitimately saying it's like a friend went away on me.
Yeah. I love talking to artists. We need to have more artists on because I love when you talked about different perspective, right? Not just of the character, but like we get a different perspective just from the process. And I love the inside baseball stuff. I love the creative process stuff, whether it be writers or artists. And Aaron was just an absolute joy to talk to, a fellow whiskey enthusiast as well. So that was a lot of fun too. But there was, I know I didn't get the chance to talk to him at C2E2, but you did, which was great because that helped us secure, the chat. And I wish I had gotten to talk to him a little bit more, and we'll have to have him on again. I can't implore people enough to go check out that chat because it was just a lot of fun. I think in general, our chats, not to toot our own horn, but what I like about them is that by and large, they're very easygoing. They're very just free flowing. It's just a couple of people chatting, right? And this was just a fun, seamless chat. Who you might have thought we had all been buds, for years, and that's what I love about doing these things.
Yeah, it's whenever we have that happen, I mean, and we have it happen more often than not. We're very fortunate in that regard. But when people get comfortable with this, it's always a really good time. That's why we again, not to toot our own horns, but like that's why we have a ton of return guests on this show, and that's not going to change going forward. But yeah, it was. I if you haven't listened to it already, go check it out. And that issue, the final issue rather, of JOHN CONSTANTINE, HELLBLAZER, Dead in America, drops this week. We've talked having the episode already. We're probably not going to break it down a whole heck of a lot here, but I will say before we get into what's new, like that was the whole series on the whole. Absolutely loved it. The finale was friggin' outstanding. But On another programming note too, I want to let everybody know that we will not be streaming What's New next week, and we'll be just be doing What's New, no mainline, nothing special planned for the week of Christmas. We will be doing an audio-only version of What's New. We may get that to you a little bit sooner than normal because of the holiday, but just wanted to put that on everybody's radar. And then right after that, after Christmas, after Joe and I celebrate, we are going to have the floppies right ahead of the new year. So very excited for that. Of course, that is our awards. That is what kicks off, national award season here in America, actually, is the floppies now. So you're welcome, everybody, for getting that early. Make sure you plan accordingly. Joe has done all the graphics. Very excited to break all of those down. Do you have anything else to add before we get to actually, we don't have anything really for catching up before we get into What's New?
Social media wise, right? The stack and the gem of the week and some of the other videos, it's probably going to be real light next week, right? We want people to enjoy the holidays. We're going to enjoy the holidays. We'll try and put some content out there for you. But, if you don't see a ton from us next week, just know you will have something for your ear holes at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, that is a good reminder when it comes to the social stuff. Joe and I are doing more and more. Joe's been doing it for a while. I'm adding more now to the social stuff. Outside of, getting clips from the show, you're starting to get pack breaks from me. Now you obviously have the gem of the week in Joe's stack. So we're mixing it up and getting more stuff on YouTube, more stuff over on Blue Sky as well, Instagram. So make sure you're following us in all those places. And also, I should have mentioned this before. This has to break my streak, Joe. If you're thinking about the Aaron Campbell chat, where can I listen to that? Where can I see that? You can't see it. We've posted a video for it, but you can't find that full video because we only do Fireside chats in audio form. So you have to find, us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of the major podcasting platforms. And when you're there, subscribe to the show. So all these interviews and then other future shows that we do, episodes that we do, it'll get delivered right to your listening device. You don't have to worry about getting notified on social media unless you want to follow us there for the other things I mentioned. And while you're there, also leave a 5-star rating review. Otherwise, you're learning the real meaning of Backcrack. And it's going to look more like Krampus than Christmas for you guys this year if you go and leave anything worse than a 5-star rating and review. But as I mentioned before, Joe, we got nothing really for catching up this week. But we do have a lot to get to. Quite a hefty week for What's New. And there is a Marvel book that we want to talk about. But why don't you take us through what else is out?
2024 started with a bang. Everything in between, in the middle, has been absolutely stellar, and looks like 2024 is going to end on a real bang. I had a real tough time sort of underlying which books I really wanted to highlight this week. There was a lot of great books, starting with Marvel. We have Ultimate Spider-Man, issue 12, Fantastic Four, issue 27, Daredevil, issue 16, The Immortal Thor, issue 18, Deadpool, issue 9, The Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 10. I hate that I have to say that one correctly. Captain America, issue 16. Psylocke, issue 2. Sentinels, issue 3. Namor, or Namor, I've heard it both ways, issue 5. Blood Hunters, issue 5. Star Wars Ahsoka, issue 6. Conquest 2099, issue 5. Ewoks, issue 3. The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 263. TVA issue 1. You read that, Nicholas. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, it was solid. It didn't wow me, but it's like you got Spider-Gwen, you got, Gambit in the mix. Like there's some cool characters. So I had a fun enough time that I'm going to check out the second one, but it didn't overwhelm me.
Gotcha. Alligator Loki Holiday Special, issue 1. And then a number 1, Nicholas, that I don't know about you, definitely knocked my socks off.
Yeah, but it's also like this is what you expect when you have Benjamin Percy. We knew Benjamin Percy writing a Wolverine period was going to do. Obviously, we've experienced that. It's friggin' outstanding. It's raised the bar for me for what I expect from a Wolverine story. But now, when you got him writing Wolverine Family, which we've gotten a taste of, we did get a Helverine miniseries previously, and that's led to this ongoing Helverine series, which, if you guys want to learn more about that, we actually talked to Benjamin Percy after this was announced, so you can get some more insight there. I actually got to go back and listen to that as well too, Joe, because we had a great time talking with Ben about that. And the artist on this is Raphael Ienco, who did an outstanding job. So great follow-up from the miniseries. A nice intro to Dakin for those who don't know the character very well. We got into more of that than the miniseries did. And then just, the tone setter that the imagery provided, this was terrifying. And we've talked about it a lot with Benjamin Percy. Obviously, Wolverine was quite violent. The Sabretooth War specifically was just next level. We had the warning label. Ghost Rider
had one on this one too.
Yeah, Oh, it did on this one. Okay, I was gonna
Yeah,
say I
tiny.
missed it.
It was in the little box right underneath where the price of the book is. So it
Okay,
wasn't like a big banner, but yeah, I looked for it. It was there.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
it was
mean,
there.
it makes sense. It should be there because I was some of these images I saw. I was like, dude, what is this? But like, how is there not a warning on the cover? But I will say, like, Helverine is the next badass character. Like Marvel readers are going to absolutely fall in love with if they haven't done so already.
Yeah, give me a figure. Give it to me now. This was great because it you know what it did a couple of things really well. It was a great story. It sort of set up, where the series is going to go, but also gave you just enough background from the miniseries, and then a little bit from the end of Benjamin Percy's Wolverine run that kind of set all this stuff up
Mm-hmm.
without being like, ugh. So if you hadn't read any of that stuff, you can read this issue
Good call.
and know exactly, like, okay, where Dakin's coming from, what's going on, and just be ready to just go on a kick-ass ride.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so much fun. This is people are. I think people are going to be talking about this a lot over the next calendar year, if not beyond that. So yeah, Helverine issue 1, friggin' outstanding. Moving over to DC, Joe has a couple books that he wants to dig into. We got Absolute Batman issue 3, Nightwing issue 121, Batman Superman World's Finest issue 34, Action Comics 1080, Wonder Woman issue 16, Titans issue 18. Batman and Robin Year 1 issue 3, Catwoman issue 71, Jenny Sparks issue 5, Batman Santa Claus Silent Night Returns issue 4, Batman Wayne Family Adventures issue 143, Milestone Universe The Shadow Cabinet issue 2, The Question All Along the Watchtower issue 2, Plastic Man No More issue 4, Batman 89 Echoes issue 5, Hellblazer Dead in America issue 11. Again, we've talked about that a ton. I do want to say, when you're trying to end a story with a legacy character, it's not a thing that's easy, I think, for creators to do, at least from a readership standpoint. It's always like you want to have this big like ending or whatever, but it's like, oh, you gotta hand it off to somebody else because they're usually going to take over. I thought Cy did a really outstanding job with writing the finale for this series. Green Lantern, Green Arrow, World's Finest Special issue 1, Challengers of the Unknown issue 1, and then Joe, where do you want to go first?
Well, I'm going to start with Dark Knights of Steel All Winter issue 6. This is written by Jay Kristoff, with art by Tirso Cons. I mean, from the get-go, when Tom Taylor first introduced Dark Knights of Steel, you and I were on board telling everyone to read it. It was just such a great medieval way of reinvigorating these characters, right? Telling them from different, perspectives, or just presenting them in different ways, which was excellent. And then Christoph comes in and starts to tell this beautiful story, revolving around Slade and the kingdom, being plunged, into everlasting winter. And it's been just a vicious, violent, gut-wrenching story. And this was a very satisfying ending. And I absolutely love it. It was this is another book that, if you hadn't been reading, wait, get the trade, get your hands on it, read it any way you can. But the thing I wanted to highlight the most was Tirso Cons' artwork. It was just absolutely breathtaking. There wasn't a lot of color through this series. You mean all winter? Like, we've lived in New England long enough to know that from December to March, it fucking sucks here. It's dark by 4 o'clock. It's just gray and cold and miserable. And that's the feeling you get when you're reading this comic, because a lot of times it's a lot of black and whites and shades of gray, except for the one character. Whenever he's sort of active, there's brightness, and we get a lot of that in this issue, and we get a lot of backstory that's absolutely gut-wrenching. But Tirso Cons' artwork, I think, was just breathtaking and really elevated the story to an even higher level. So I absolutely loved Dark Knights of Steel All Winter. This is definitely a must-read book for DC fans.
Yeah.
And just in general, it's a great fantasy story involving, the characters that you know and love, but in a different light, which is tremendous.
Yeah, I really hope that what comes from this more than anything else is that we see more comic book writing from Jay Kristoff, because as we
Hmm.
mentioned quite a bit on this show, he writes prose and is an outstanding prose writer. I was introduced to him through my wife with the Nevernight Chronicles. I know he's got like the Empire of the Vampire, which is his current like ongoing series, which I know she's been reading and raving about. Like I would, I'm sure he's plenty busy trying to write those novels, because the Nevernight ones were thick, but the Empire of the Vampire stuff is even thicker. So I don't know how easy it is for him to fit this kind of writing in between when he's trying to put those pages together. But I'd love to see him, just even if it's just one book, that he's got going on the side, whether it's big two or indie. I have a hard time imagining he'd do indie, just because he's like, can I make this prose and make it bigger and do more stuff here? But I'd love to see him just do more in comics, because you now have experienced. He's an awesome writer.
Yeah, I think he'd be a tremendous indie comic book writer. To be honest
Oh
with you,
yeah,
let him go. Let his imagination go wherever it takes him. But yeah,
it's
100%
I
agree.
I purely think that he wouldn't, we've never talked to Jay Kristoff on the show. I just wonder, would he do that because he does such a good job with pros? I would prefer to do him to do indie 100%. Like do indie, but I'll take whatever I can get from him, because I think he's going to kill it no matter what.
Yeah, yeah, hard agree there. Hard agree there. So the next book I want to discuss here. This is a big one. This book has been hyped. It's been teased
Yeah.
for a while now, and that's The New Gods, issue 1, written by Ron V with art by Jorge Fornes. And man, I don't say this often, right? And these aren't, typically characters that I read, but this first issue, it had an epic feel to it, right? There's a lot going on here. I think this is sort of what Marvel wanted to do with oh shit, what was the big movie that came out there?
The big movie
One of the MCU movies that
I mean,
oh Jesus Christ.
that is like New Gods. Oh, the Eternals.
The Eternals. Thank you.
Wow. So high up there.
I know, old man moment here, right? I feel like this is what Marvel had wanted to accomplish with the Eternals, like on a scale of sort of epicness.
Interesting.
But Ron V pulls off, and there's just, he is such a brilliant storyteller, a brilliant writer. Fornes' art is fantastic, and his use of characters that I'm not usually care about, I am fully invested in, right? I like desperately want to know more. I need that second issue now. The way it's set up, it's sort of set up on a grand scale and then brings it down figuratively and literally down to earth, and gets you so emotionally invested that you can't be anything but hooked and hyped for where this story is going. And I think this is Rom's been doing a lot, with DC, but I think this is a book that he was sort of meant to write for them, if that makes sense.
So okay. So you and I talked about this pre-show. Like this is a book that I think Rom V does an outstanding job of advertising his own stuff. Like he does a great job with social media, building up hype. I mean, personally, like obviously I loved the finish art, but I think you're similar. Like we love seeing process stuff too. That's why we do what we do. Like, and I love seeing process artwork, seeing black and white, seeing occasional panels here and there, because like when it's really cool art, like it doesn't matter. Like with you want to in the finished product have colors there, generally speaking, but it's like if it's cool, like you're gonna appreciate it in the buildup. He does such a good job hyping this stuff. I'm like, New Gods, like I don't know if this is something like similar to you. I don't know if this is something I'm necessarily gonna want to read, but it looks cool. Rom's obviously a great writer, all this stuff. You just made the decision for me. Like we were debating whether or not you should take dibs on it.
Wouldn't it be a real kick in the nuts if I just called dibs on it?
It would be like, but it would be every right. You would have a right to have it. But I'm definitely going to check this out now. Like you sold it.
You should check
it. You
it.
did the final bit of selling, because this sounds outstanding. Like it sounds like must read stuff.
You should check it out. And usually when we pick books on TLDR, they're usually books that have either finished, they're wrapped up, or they're sick, whatever, right? This is the type of book where I feel like after the first arc, it's going to be hard to discuss because there's still so much more of the story yet to go, right? So that's why I want you to read it, because I think you'll love it, and I think it'll be a good book, for us to continue to highlight like we do, each week with what's new, when it comes out. Because this is a book I feel like would be great to talk on TLDR once it's completed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh,
and that could take a while. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to wait a year, for or longer before you finally get a chance to read it.
I appreciate that very much. I will definitely get on top of this, because in every way, like, I already thought it sounded good. It seemed promising, and now it's like it is 100%. So there we go. All right, the New Gods. Make sure you guys are picking that up this week. Don't sleep on it like I was doing originally. Listen to Joe. You do that, normally you're generally going to be fine. What do we got from Boom this week, sir?
From Boom, we have House of Slaughter issue 28, Power Rangers Prime issue 2, Sir issue 5, and another book that we easily could have talked about at great length, Vicarious issue 3. Did you read it, Nicholas?
I did. This is, I really hope people aren't sleeping on Vicarious. I feel like Ryan has this written as this is like a 6-issue story or whatever. Like, this seems like something that has a beginning and an end, and that's it. I really hope that everybody checks this one out, because this is an easy one to sneak by, outside of the Damp and Ocean covers. They've been outstanding. But the series on the whole, the first 3 issues, it's of the moment, but also very different. And I've just, every issue has been awesome in a different way.
And what a hell of a turn this issue took, huh? Holy smokes.
Yeah, it really did. So yeah, some awesome stuff over at Boom. A quick note and I'm putting me on the spot here for House of Slaughter. So one thing that Tynan does with the Tiny Onion is they have they sell bandanas for the houses on his website, and I'm probably going to get myself one at some point, just because I love the Slaughterverse. The fact it took me as long to get on that train as it did is a shame, but they don't have a personality thing or whatever. And I know they explain it in the story, but I'm not asking if you know, but have you thought about which bandana you would get in the House of Slaughter?
Which one I would get?
Yeah. Which one would be bestowed upon you? Not I'm going to get the black mask. That doesn't mean I think I'm a black mask. I could be, I don't know. It's with these personality things, I always question, there's a level of how you're viewed and then how you view yourself, and those are totally different things. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably be a black mask, but I think I'd want purple.
Purple, okay.
Yeah.
Is purple one of the other houses, or is that is Azure?
I believe purple. It's been a little while. I think if it hasn't been introduced, right? Remember they were talking about.
Yes, they did.
Purple mask. I think it was an overseas house.
Yeah,
right.
It was Europe. It was C2.
Yeah.
You mentioned that. Okay, I just couldn't remember what that was. All right.
Because my daughter's name is Violet, and it looks incredibly badass. And in a different life, I do believe I would have kicked ass as a Sherlockian Holmes type. I do love me some little London foggy town.
Yep.
But yeah, I would want purple, but I think I would probably be black, the black mask, to be honest with you.
Okay. I really don't. I genuinely do not know what I'd be like. I don't know. Part of me thinks black, but I also feel like everybody thinks black because that's what Erica is. But I also wonder what the white masks are in theory. Makes sense to me, working as a unit, but also the white masks that we have a lot of experience with are all pretty much unhinged. So I don't. They're all weirdos. So yeah, I don't know, and I don't know the European ones, because you're right. That's a whole nother thing that we're supposed to be getting to experience a little more. I know I wouldn't be red, and I'm fairly certain that I wouldn't be blue, but we've gotten to spend more time with one blue mask recently, so that one seems much more different than the rest. So yeah, I'm not sure, but definitely not red. That's the only one I know for sure. Anyways, moving on. Let's go to Dark Horse. So we got Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures issue 13, Paranoid Gardens issue 6.
finale. Wild book.
And you're so I haven't read a single page of this. Are you gonna do it on the show at some point?
At some point, yes.
Okay, next. Arcbound issue 2, which you also have dibs on. That's the Snyder.
So I remember I was a little lukewarm on the first issue. Yes, it's Scott Snyder, Tom Hardy's involved,
and then Frank Thierry.
Thank you. Yeah, like I was lukewarm, and then like the end of the first issue, like okay, I'm intrigued. Much more in on the second issue.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that's huge. I mean, this is where it's like, so we talk about like issue 1 is very important. Issue 2 is right on that same level. Like you have to. That's where I think you get your hooks in issue 1, but then like issue 2, like they're locked in. Like you like this can get them committed for at least the rest of the arc, I think. But we don't look at sales a whole hell of a lot, you and I, so we don't know. But anyways,
we're not privy to those numbers, you know.
Exactly. Black Hammer, Spiral City, issue 2. Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures, Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone, issue 3. From the World of Minor Threats, Barfly, issue 4. Space Usagi, White Star Rising, issue 2. Goo, Minstrel Melodies, issue 4. Seance in the Asylum, issue 3. Freaking shame on me. This is such a good book, and I didn't like this. It slipped past me in our review copies.
Wildest issue of the series so
far.
Oh
my God, really?
Wild, Nicholas. Absolutely crackers.
How is that possible? This is so crackers. It's so fucking good. Maybe this is a book where I really would love to try and test out our one shot like concept at some point. I think it would be fun. But it's like I don't know. Like this may be a tough book to do that on. I don't know. Anyways, Kanto, A Place Like Home, issue 6. Borderlands, Moxie's Mysterious Memento, issue 2. The Masked Maker, issue 4. Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures, The Wedding Spectacular, issue 1. I hate sand. What do we got from Mad Cave?
From Mad Cave, we have Flash Gordon, issue 5. I have to catch up on issue 4, so I haven't read this one yet, but that's just been a great series. String, issue 2. Exit City. I loved the first issue. This, again, another book I could have talked about at great length. I love this series. This is part of the universe. Yeah. With that who's the writer there? Mark. Jeez, folks, I'm showing my age today. Holy cow! I think sundowning is. I'm well beyond that at this point. But Exit City 2 is absolutely excellent. But the book I want to discuss from Mad Cave this week is number 1, and that is Missing on the Moon, issue 1, written by Corey Crater with art by Damian Cuchero. We sort of highlighted this during our solicit, and I had this one, point out as, this is one I want to keep my eye on and read. This is a great sci-fi, pulp noir, neo-noir story of a missing kid, where, on a colony on the moon. And so it's got all the things that I love. It's got a sort of a detective who is sort of, you think he's lost his way. You don't know why. He's sort of been, he's no longer an official detective. He's sort of been busted down to beat cop, if you will. But he's hired to find this very important person's missing daughter. And so there's great suspense. It's got that great mystery that I love to it, especially when it comes to detective stories. And there's more than meets the eye here, right? There's corruption abound. You're just trying to figure out who the major players are, who has what to gain, and all that. So this was an excellent first issue. Absolutely loved it. I'm going to take dibs on it for now, nice. Nicholas. And because it was just, it's that kind of book, right? Mad Cave. I love you. You're killing it this year. Absolutely love it.
When we got, I think we got advanced stuff sent to us for this one, and I'm pretty sure I sent it to you a while back, and was like, when I saw the description, I was like, this is 100% like going to be a Joe book. I wasn't even thinking like, oh, I'm going to check this out and maybe we both read it. Like I wanted you to get full first crack on it because it just sounded like, obviously when we're dealing with detective stuff, I mean, you said it yourself, like, think in another life, you might have been Watson or Sherlock Holmes, either way.
A year ago, I could have pulled off Watson. Now you put me in a deerstalker cap, I could pull off, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that we were talking about like pictures for stuff later. Maybe that's what you need to do. Something. All right, moving over to IDW, we got Sonic the Hedgehog issue 75, and again, like for those of you who maybe are doing some last minute holiday shopping, I'll tell you what, I definitely am guilty of that this year. Been doing fine, made out fine, but definitely made some last minute decisions. Sonic the Hedgehog, for anybody who's like a younger reader, that's stuff that I get from my nephew, and he loves it. And he's about to turn 11. So, probably somewhere like from the 8 to, I don't know, maybe 12 range. Sonic's popular. So right now, especially. So definitely check that stuff out.
What? You just sounded like an old man. Yeah, Sonic, he's popular. That's what the kids are into, right? Yeah.
I mean, we like Sonic. Yeah, you're right. But I also like Sonic. I don't know. Like, it is weird sometimes to think like this is something. Sonic predates me, if I'm not mistaken. And I always liked Sonic.
I grew up with Sonic, right? Yeah. It was Genesis, right? Like,
yeah. And
I was a Nintendo household. My buddy Ryan was a Sega household, right? So like you went there, you played Sonic, you played NHL 94, you played that kind of stuff, right?
It's just weird to think like that's a thing I played as a little kid because I had Sega, and it's like, yeah, like Sonic's very much relevant now. But I finally watched the first movie, and I got to watch the second one before because obviously the third one's coming out. I totally get it why it's so popular. I mean, that's like it's a fun movie, like to take your kids to as an adult, like because obviously it's a character I'm familiar with, but like for kids, it's like, oh yeah, I would have absolutely loved this.
I'm trying to get Violet, one of her friends, seen it, like so, like. God forbid you listen to your old man and say, hey, let's watch this movie. But you know how it goes. She's got a friend who says they like it. So now she wants to watch, but I don't care how she wants to watch it. She wants to watch it. So I'm hoping we can watch those two movies and maybe over Christmas break, go to the theaters and see Sonic 3.
And that might give you another series to have her check out because she's 8 now, right?
February she'll be, yeah.
Yeah. So or maybe a certain Tio will get her the first volume of Sonic the Hedgehog. But anyways, Star Trek issue 27, Godzilla Monster Piece Theater issue 2, Star Trek Lower Decks issue 2, My Little Pony Best of Celestia issue 1, which is of course Mac's favorite My Little Pony character. And then last but not least, we got the 5th issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Jason Aaron's run. I've obviously been working with quite a few artists on the show previously. On the series. Derek Robinson actually did this issue. That name may sound familiar. Co-creator and illustrator of The Boys. We're not getting The Boys in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, thank God. That would be something. But I will say, this is like, again, first 4 issues. We love them. I was lower on the on Leonardo, and I think you were in the same camp as me. I know we did rankings on it a while back, but Leonardo was also still friggin' awesome. This one, right on the same level as pretty much everything else. I'd still say Donatello smokes, his story smokes everybody's. But we get a little more focus on Hieronymus Hale, who we saw earlier in the series. He's like a new character for Jason Aaron's run. Casey has also entered the mix, which you knew was going to happen based on the cover. After getting a lot of focus on all the 4 turtles in the first 4 issues, each individually, where we're now getting invested in all the characters, this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 5 lays out what is ahead of them, talking more about the obstacle that's in front of them. And this, again, just another outstanding Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue. Jason Aaron has absolutely been killing it.
Yeah, this was a brilliant execution in character study. And was it Hieronymus? What was his first name? Hieronymus Hale, right? Just right from the first narration box in the first panel right till the very end, to see where this character, it's a perfect origin story, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Character, right?
Yeah,
and really, like you said, sets everything up. The Casey Jones stuff I love the look. Love the look they gave Casey Jones. So For all TMNT fans, this was an absolutely fantastic issue. It's been Jason Aaron is just, again, he's another brilliant writer that I think is like we've been I've been saying this a lot. Like, you've got Daniel Warren Johnson, like perfect for Transformers, right? Declan Shalvey has been perfect for Thundercats, right? And now you've got Jason Aaron, who I think is like perfect for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Because I feel like TMNT, it's been fairly stagnant for a long time, at least in the comic book world. And then you had The Last Ronin, which sort of reinvigorated the franchise. And then you had the animated movie, which helped as well. But like, I know, Eastman, right? Laird and Eastman are the creators of Turtles, but like, I needed a new voice. I needed a new perspective. And we're getting that with Jason Aaron here, and he's killing it.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see what's going on with Jason Aaron right now, just because he was at Marvel for so long, and obviously he was doing his own indie stuff. But now seeing him, I hadn't at least seen him do, IP characters outside of Marvel stuff recently. Not knowingly, like not for I couldn't tell you when, but he's obviously doing Absolute Superman, and we've been enjoying that. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, everybody's been eating that shit up. Like, so he's like getting to stretch his wings outside of Marvel, and it's just I'm impressed very much so right now.
Yeah. Excellent stuff.
Yeah. All right, what do we got next?
All right, I'm gonna take us through the next few, if you don't mind, Nicholas.
Please do.
From Vault, we have Lilith issue 2, which you're very excited for.
Mm-hmm.
Something Crawled Out issue 3, that is very ominous, and Kid Maroon issue 2. From Distillery, we have Spectrograph issue 4. From Oni Press, we have Epitaphs from the Abyss issue 6, Sectars issue 3, and then the Autumn Kingdom issue 4. This is written by Cullen Bunn. I absolutely love this series. And then from Titan, we have maybe my favorite title of all time, Minky Woodcock, The Girl Called Cthulhu, issue 3.
Yeah, it is.
There's a whole series of Minky Woodcock books that I've got saved on Hoopla that I got to go back and read.
Oh, really?
There's at least 2 other volumes of Minky Woodcock tales.
Oh, wow. And that's all from Titan?
Yeah.
Wow. I had no freaking idea. This is my first time I've ever heard of it. From Dynamite, we got Thundercats issue 11, Lilo and Stitch issue 8, The Powerpuff Girls issue 6, Johnny Quest issue 5, DuckTales issue 2,
Woo-hoo.
Sweet Candy Vigilante issue 40, and then Gargoyles Winter Special issue 1.
So you said Sweetie Candy Vigilante issue 40.
Wow. Yep. It's issue 6. I apologize.
Yeah.
This is why you shouldn't move your eyes around when you're reading off a prompter, everybody.
All right. I may have sundowned, but Nick has just gone straight to dementia.
This is number 2 misread for me in like the last hour. The other one happened outside of the show, and I was not my best look.
Yeah. Well, different story for a different day. So let's wrap things up here, Nicholas. Again, there's a series of books here that I could have just absolutely gone on massive talks about. But we gotta be somewhat selective, because we're already running close to an hour here. From Image and Skybound, we have G.I. Joe issue 2. Oh man, so good. The Energon universe is just where it's at, folks. King Spawn issue 40, Red Coat issue 8, The Power Fantasy issue 5, The Sacrificers issue 13, The Moon is Following Us issue 4. Again, this is another absolutely gut-wrenching emotional story, and this issue was just, oh man, action-packed, and you weeping as you read it. The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 103, The Rockefellers issue 2, Ultra Mega issue 8, Moon Man issue 6, Violator Origin issue 4, Sam and Twitch Case Files issue 9, Spawn Kills Every Spawn issue 5, Tin Can Society issue 4. This is another TLDR book for Doc. Standstill issue 5. I believe it's the finale. Crackers. If not, is one more left. One more left, I believe. Crackers issue. Absolutely crackers. Null Hunter issue 3. Blood Squared 7 issue 5. Packless issue 9. Freddy the Fix issue 1, which is a one-shot, and this is written by Garth Ennis. And I remember reading the synopsis on the solicit and going, "Oh, yeah, that sounds like a Garth Ennis book." The Horizon Experiment, Motherfucking Monsters issue 1. I wasn't gonna say mother asterisk in, but that's how it's spelled.
You did it anyways.
Yeah, I know. Right? I've heard it both ways, Nicholas. And then lastly, there's the number 1 that you would like to discuss.
Yeah, so we're getting obviously more Spawn stuff. We haven't talked about Spawn stuff on the show in quite a while, but we got the Deadly Tales of Gunslinger issue 1. Now, originally I think this did say Gunslinger Spawn in the title, but looking at the cover, it seems like they've pulled that, which totally works, whatever. But anyways, the writer on this series is Jimmy Palmiotti, and then the artist is Patrick Reynolds, who I think we've seen do some stuff with Rodney in the past. Definitely, like with both of these creators, we've seen stuff from before in the past, plenty. But anyways, this is set in the Wild West. We get some insight into Gunslinger Spawn's origin, obviously a character who I love, and definitely more to come on that front. The action was outstanding, like some really wild stuff from Patrick Reynolds in this, some just everything that I'd want in a Spawn book from an action standpoint, we're getting along those lines here. But now it's set in the Midwest, so there's like there's some changes that that are appropriate. And then the pacing of this issue was awesome too, because we're dealing with like people who maybe never checked out Gunslinger Spawn before. Maybe you didn't read the Gunslinger Spawn series, but also like you have the people that read that series are gonna want to read this because this is set in a different time. Right now, this is a great way to get to know Gunslinger Spawn, and this is also a great shift from that original title that we got with the character that I forget how many issues that is running for. But all around, like I had a lot of fun with Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger, and I'm very much looking forward to that second issue.
Nice.
And that
Love it, Nicholas.
and again, like you said, like there's a ton of Image stuff that we could have talked about. Like the Power Fantasy is so damn good, dude. I cannot.
Oh,
Like,
and same thing with Standstill and the Tin Can Society. I mean, Jesus, like it was a hell of a week. I am stunned that I was able to read as many books as I did this week, just because like it was a lot. And usually it's like, okay, I got to pick and choose, and I can't get to all of them. No, I couldn't stop reading. I just couldn't put the iPad down and stop reading.
Quick reminder for everybody, obviously if you haven't listened, if you're catching us on one of our streaming spots right now, make sure you go listen to that Aaron Campbell chat we just did. The artist, not Arter. Jesus. All right, I'm running out of gas here. The artist on John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America. Obviously that series is coming to an end this week. You can only find our Fireside chats on our audio channels. And next, what's new, which is what we're doing ahead of Christmas, you're only going to be able to find that in audio form. So make sure you subscribe there so you get that delivered right to your listening device. We're going to try and get that to you guys a little bit early, just because obviously the holidays, everybody's going to be busy. You want to listen to what's going on in comics this week. We want to make sure you have that for you in advance. But other than that, Joe, I think we are covered. So until next week, my friend, stay sexy.
That's how I do it, Nicholas. Oh shit! Don't hit stop. Keep reading. Woo. Yeah.